KBIS 2025 brought a whole new energy. Oh my gosh. This new energy and vibe brought on by a number of issues and a number of things that took place in Las Vegas. Ideas, concepts on the minds of both design creatives and their clients, combined with that of the brands that hope to be included in future projects. So much going on. KBIS, the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show, in partnership with the National Kitchen and Bath Association, is one of the few must-attend shows that takes place in America. I believe that wholeheartedly. The event itself is 3 days of brands, talks, programming, things to see, events, happenings, while combined with the International Builders Show in the same footprint of the Las Vegas Convention Center. Every first-time attendee to the show is gobsmacked by the sheer volume of people and product. Even those who are veterans of the event seem annually surprised by the amount of walking, talking, lack of physical preparedness required to fully navigate this show. You can't take it all in, even in 3 days. KBIS is on my list of annual must-attend events for specifiers, designers, architects, and design build firms. Why? There's a few reasons for this, and following is a comprehensive, possibly incomplete, but significant nonetheless, list of things that I love most about this show. Networking. There is someone in the industry that you are hoping to meet. There is a very good chance that they are at KBIS. Even if they aren't, you will certainly meet others with whom you can find strategic opportunities. The event itself is optimally conducive to unplanned run-ins. It just is. Scheduled meetings and introductions. Surprise and delight. This is one of my favorites. Finding new products, materials, and services are what makes the design of a trade show so enticing. You don't know what you don't know, and an event of this size and magnitude makes the process of discovery fun and effective and kind of addictive. The amount of product interaction over 3 days in 1 million square feet of convention space is certainly an opportunity to find new products to incorporate into your designs. Learning and education. So the amount of programming that takes place over these 3 days is significant. There are opportunities to learn a great deal about a vast number of topics in a short period of time, making this one of those rare opportunities that matches your preparedness and willingness to learn equal to the number of opportunities available. In other words, there are more available opportunities for you than you could possibly take advantage of. Exiting the comfort zone of what is known for what is possible. This is an esoteric idea encompassing the willingness to forego what is known about design spaces based largely on what is known from the trade publications and social media. This is an opportunity to look at what is now available to be used in uncommon ways, and it's just magic. As part of my KBIS 2025 experience, I was asked to host the very first KBIS podcast studio. This was an enclosed studio within the South Hall and featured podcasters and podcasts from across the country executing their programming as they saw fit in front of a live audience of event attending peers. I absolutely relish the opportunity to work live. I love working live. This opportunity to work without a safety net is both exhilarating and allows me to break the third wall and elicit live responses to some of the ideas being discussed. That's just fun. And you're going to hear these conversations over the next 7 weeks in a limited series that you're listening to now called KBIS Confidential, Creative Conversations live from KBIS 2025. And look at that. We're off. We're off. Welcome to KBIS. Is everyone having fun? Show a thumbs up. You having a good time? Are your feet tired yet? A little bit? Have you had something to eat? Okay, look at you. You are pros. You are experts at this, and I love that. We are here at KBIS 2025. My name is Josh Cooperman. I host Convo by Design, a podcast for the design and architecture industry. And we're in the fishbowl. And I love being in the fishbowl here at KBIS, presented by AJ Madison and AJ Madison Pro. And I am so thankful that AJ Madison did this. This is amazing. And just so you know, AJ Madison Pro is the ultimate appliance solution for professionals who need fast, reliable access to top brands. If I sound like I'm reading this, I am, so that I don't make a mistake, but it's true. Because without the headache and back orders that AJ Madison provides, it makes it super easy for designers and architects to get what they need. Am I right? See, I love this too. Normally, at the home studio, I don't have an audience. This is so great. Smiling faces, acknowledging my existence. This is so great. So listen, AJ Madison helps you stay on track with your projects with nationwide shipping and delivery. AJ Madison's massive logistics network ensures your appliances arrive exactly when and where you need them. No delays, no surprises. And, are you ready for this? With over 150 top brands, this is your one-stop shop for all things appliances, and their team of industry experts provides personal service. I mean, what else do you need? AJ Pro, AJ Madison, and AJ Madison Pro, thank you for being here, and thank you for presenting the podcast studio here at KBIS. With that, we got a good one for you today. Before I set this up, I'm not even going to set it up. I want you to hear who will be joining me today, and then I'll tell you what we're talking about.
I'm first.
Yes.
Well, thank you for having me, Josh. I am Catherine Given, the style director at Luxe Interiors and Design. We are a regional network of magazines. We have 14 regional editions around the country, and we cover what's happening in design. As a style director, this is a very important show for us. Obviously, we have a lot of brand partners here, but it's also my job as editors to know what's happening in the industry, to cover the latest and greatest. So it's always a highlight, and I'm excited to be here.
Hi, Josh. Thank you for having me today. I am an interior designer and lifestyle expert, Vanessa DeLeon. I specialize in high-end residential, commercial, and hospitality interiors. I have product lines, licensings, and I'm also a brand ambassador, and I'll be at the Neolith booth today and tomorrow all day, so join me and say hi.
I'm Amy Chernoff, Vice President of Marketing for AJ Madison. And Josh, you're right, it's so weird to do a podcast and have an audience. Super cool. As Josh mentioned in his read over, we're House of Brands, appliances. We ship to every zip code in the U.S., and I'm super excited to make it my mission to help designers and custom home builders build their brand through the projects that they're working on.
Not a read straight from the heart.
Right.
Yeah.
I have no notes.
Oh, I do. I have to. Listen, this conversation that you're listening to today, pitch to Pitch to published. See why I have to have notes? Here's the idea. Creatives don't always know how to get their name out, how to get published, how to get the work that they do presented. And what you're going to hear today is real world stories, real life experiences, tangible, actionable, demonstrable ways to do that. And you're going to hear from the pros. You're going to hear from an editor. You're going to hear from a marketing director. You're going to hear from a designer. It sounds so easy, doesn't it? It's easy. I do great work. I'm going to take a couple pictures on my iPhone, and then I'm going to send it to Catherine, and she's going to love it so much that I'm going to get in the magazine, because that's how it works, right?
Wrong. Well, we know there's so much that goes into what designers do. And I wish I had a short, succinct sort of agenda for you on how to get published, but there's a lot of magazines out there, right? There's a lot of platforms out there. So, you know your brand. And my advice, just starting it off, kicking it off, would just do your homework a little bit, right? Like, know where you want to be. Lux really focuses on regional talent in terms of design projects. Otherwise, just stepping back a second, most magazines are divided into two sections, right? The front of book and then the well. The well has the feature stories. The front of book has the smaller stories, profiles. That's where we cover product, roundups, collaboration, sort of these one-off pages where a lot of the storytelling happens too. So, if you, work with celebrities, maybe you want to be published in another magazine, right? If you have a certain story to tell that aligns with the ethos of a platform, that's where you want to be. But my advice just before pitching is do a little homework on the brand, figure out what their DNA is, and that's going to be a much stronger pitch. Obviously, we're going to go into a lot today, but kicking it off right there, and you agree, right? Do your homework a little bit.
I think knowing your audience as an interior designer, and you want to focus on, if you're more of a DIY designer, then you want to focus on the shelter magazines that are more DIY related. And knowing that the big shelters that are more high profile, you're going into the wrong doors, you're knocking on the wrong doors. So I think knowing your audience is really big, and instead of trying to throw it to the masses and see what sticks. I think it's really honing in on what your audience and what your style is.
Yeah, I mean, as a marketing professional, obviously we advertise in a lot of publications, both regional and national, and I think this is probably the most salient point that we're going to make today. Do your homework. To both Catherine and Vanessa's points, it is, if you're ultra modern, you may want to look across the shelter titles and find a publication that really, really features modern projects, right? You wouldn't take a modern project and pitch it to Country Home Magazine, for example. It doesn't match and it doesn't make sense. So I think I would just add that. Like, it's homework is super, super important. Your style and aesthetic, and the publication itself. And I'm sure we're going to get into a lot more details about that.
Yeah, I want to start by building the foundation for this conversation. And I think the foundation is know your brand, know who you are, know what it is that you do. And Vanessa, I'm curious, when did you know what your brand was? Was it intentional from the beginning, or did you build it as you go?
I'm still learning every day.
Are you?
Yeah, to be honest. I feel like I'm always, the evolution of Vanessa doesn't change. It just keeps changing and doesn't stay stagnant. And I think in order to grow as an individual, as a designer, as a human, you have to grow and evolve with even style. I feel like in the last 5 years, my style has changed and it's evolved. My clients have a lot more spending money. They believe in my projects. They have a lot more, kind of like belief in me and what I do. And I'm able to spend a lot more, and I'm able to do a lot more things that I couldn't otherwise do years ago because the clients didn't have the heftier budgets and stuff. So I think that also has a lot to do with it. But I'm constantly evolving as a human every single day. Like, I still coin my style to be glamalistic. It's a fusion of glamour and minimalism. There is a nod to that in every project that you see. And there is kind of, you can tell like a Vanessa De Leon when you flip through a page. That's a Vanessa De Leon style. But ultimately, I think I'm growing every day. Like, the evolution of me, it's constantly changing.
I think also you've taken a very non-traditional path to building your brand, right? You've done, in addition to getting your projects published, you've done quite a few other things that build, even as your style is evolving, build your brand specifically, right?
And I focused more on building the brand first, and then the design and everything else kind of came. So I wanted, I've always coined myself to be the next Latina Martha Stewart. And that's how I sort of, when I was growing my business, I would always focus on being the next Latina Martha Stewart, and then the design, the branding, the partnerships, the ambassadorships came. The TV appearances, that was part of the brand experience, and that's how everything else kind of came to be. That makes sense.
You're listening to KBIS Confidential, live conversations from KBIS 2025 from the KBIS Podcast Studio. We'll be right back. Hey, pros, designers, builders, contractors, if you're not using AJ Madison Pro, you're leaving time and money on the table. AJ Madison Pro is the ultimate appliance solution for professionals who need fast, reliable access to top brands without the headache of back orders. Thanks to the in-stock promise, you get products you need ready to ship immediately so your projects stay on track. With nationwide shipping and delivery, AJ Madison's massive logistic network ensures your appliances arrive exactly when and where you need them. No delays, no surprises. And with over 150 top brands, this is your one-stop shop for all things appliances. Their team of industry experts provides personalized service to help you select the perfect appliance for your projects, ensuring a seamless experience from start to finish. Plus, here's an insider tip. Qualified builders and architects gain access to exclusive trade programs with significant savings on select luxury brands. AJ Madison Pro handles the registration for you, so you get the best deals, no extra work required. Join AJ Madison Pro today at ajmadison.com/pro and start streamlining your projects with ease. How do you decide what you want to publish, what you want in your editorial at any point in time? Is it part of your editorial calendar? Do you decide that at the beginning of every year?
That's a loaded question. Yeah, there are a lot of pieces to that puzzle, Josh. There really are. It's not just, sort of a short answer. But yeah, we have an editorial calendar. That would be my advice first and foremost. Look at that. It's, public knowledge. It outlines the themes for each issue. It outlines the stories we're looking for. Working on, I think we publish 92 issues a year. You do have to be organized. You do have to know what you're looking for. I'm at KBIS looking for certain things for certain stories. But that really guides most of our content, right? Is the editorial calendar. And, we do want to nod to seasonality. We're not showing maybe a fireplace, a really sort of cozy, certain aesthetic in the middle of the warm weather. So there's a lot of factors. We have partners. We consider our partners before every single story. We want to make sure that, we are in the loop with what they're doing. And we have partners both on the brand and the designer side. So there's a lot of puzzle pieces. And, again, we get hundreds of pitches a week. We also don't want to hold projects. If you greenlight a certain story, if you greenlight a certain feature, it can only be held for so long. So there's just so many different factors regarding why we publish. But first and foremost is our editorial calendar guidelines.
How do you work cooperatively and in partnership because it's so interesting, your position is so interesting. How do you work collaboratively with your designers on one side and your media partners on the other?
It's not always easy. It is juggling a lot of timelines because, print especially, there is a deadline. There's not just an infinite, runway there. Like it has to be done in a specific amount of time. And sometimes we always have, and we're doing a really interesting collaboration with Lux magazine so that in 3 of the regions where we operate showrooms and work directly with designers in the local markets, we're doing 6 campaigns a year with a huge multimedia campaign, a 2-month campaign for each designer that we feature. And it doesn't always work out to our calendar. We might have to pull somebody up. We might have had them slated for July, but based on deadline and getting photography and all of the elements that we need, we may have to swap people around based on who's ready. We always have, I would say, at least half of our schedule in production at any given time. And that's really one of the media outlets that we work with. It's a constant, listen, we couldn't do it if we didn't have a strategic partnership with Lux for many, many years. And we've evolved many programs with them over time. And I think it is an integration of our team and their editorial team specifically for this project. I will say, for the record, there is a most definite separation of church and state. That has never wavered in all the time that we've worked with Lux or any other publication.
Right, that's good to hear.
We can't strong arm anybody into publishing a story, but we run a different sort of campaign that allows us to highlight the designer's work in that particular region, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit more. But we are integrated in such a way that they're an extension of my team and vice versa for this particular campaign that we execute every other month in 3 regions.
Okay, so look, let's break this down a little bit, right? It's just us. Nobody's listening. Nobody's in here. It's just us having a conversation. Famous last words. Best practices, right? Let's just put all the cards on the table and be completely honest. Not every designer that thinks that they've made it has made it. Not every one of their projects is the next big thing, no matter which celebrity owns it. Not every publicist really understands that their client's a pain in the ass, and they're hard to work with. And I'm not being mean, and I'm not asking you to agree with me. Those are just facts of life. So let's break down the best practices, right? Individually, and it's going to be different for all of you. You know, Vanessa, it's going to be like, who do you want to work with and why? Not names, but what do you look for when you're working with a showroom partner? You know, they're going to help you. How? Maybe it's right for you, maybe it's not. But your partnership with AJ Madison, I mean, clearly they hear you, they see
Absolutely.
you. What do you look for in your partnerships?
Well, because the reason why I love AJ Madison is because of their service mostly. I mean, I love the fact that they have everything in stock. I love when my clients bring a vendor that they used to use, or some of their aunt's cousin's uncle has a appliance store that they want to use and they don't have anything in stock. And then of course I call AJ Madison and they have the entire list that I need for my specification. And the fact that I can call them in a second and the service is there. Like my client has an email within minutes of how we can service something or what we can do to fix it. And they're willing and able to do for me anything. And to me that is everything for me. You know, that speaks volumes of who they are. And no one else lights a candle to them.
So when it comes to showcasing and partnering with designers, what do you look for?
So we have some hard criteria and we have some soft criteria. So if you think about it in terms of, and Vanessa was our first kitchen design collective feature in New York, right? We've worked with her for a very long time, and you know, we knew as we've worked on many projects together that we would have images that were suitable, that are shot in a very specific way. And we haven't spoken about that, but every magazine has photo guidelines also of the way they like to present projects and the way they want the photography to work. And it's different from publication to publication, but so we knew that Vanessa would have those materials. But I think, you know, the challenge with the work that we're doing and the way that we're trying to showcase and feature designers and builders throughout our advertising, and there's a couple of things. In addition to the Kitchen Design Collective, I mean, we have the largest website in the country for appliances. Yeah. I have 150,000 unique visitors a day on my website. So even if you don't get selected for a Kitchen Design Collective project, I have to update my web creative every single week. I have 3.5 million email subscribers. I need to put out 3 emails a week. So I have social media. We're the largest appliance retailer on every social media platform. So I have to have a constant flow of assets, and I don't want to use stock images from the brands. In some cases, you know, that works. But in other ways, I want fresh and new and images that people haven't seen before. I dispatch photographers to projects all the time. Because if someone sends me iPhone photos and we say, oh, that would be perfect for this, or that would be perfect for that, you know, we send a photographer usually. And then we share all of those images, right? They're not owned by AJ. We're collectively sharing that asset and benefit. And honestly, we help submit for the brands, have a lot of opportunities to submit projects for design contests. Sub-Zero does it, Thermador does it, Viking does it. there are plenty of ways, if you put forth the effort to think about your project, back to our first step, and do your research, where, it's not a lost cause if a magazine doesn't pick it up, right? There's plenty of other ways to do it. Now, not every project's gonna make the cut for, a 2-month campaign. It might get featured on social media, it might get featured in an email. If they're using a very unique brand, or if the project is blended, meaning there's multiple brands in it, that makes it a little trickier for the 2-month campaign that we're trying to feature. We usually like that to be a single brand. So, there's ins and outs of it, but I would have to say my team does an amazing job to try to find an opportunity for every project that's submitted to us, no matter what it is. An email, the website, social media. We find something in some way, and the designer's always tagged in everything that we do. Always. We ask Vanessa. We put up on the front of our showrooms in each location. For 2 months, it'll be up there, a campaign, visual signage for the project that we're featuring.
Amazing publicity.
Yeah.
What an opportunity.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, and it's just another pathway forward.
Another amplifier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we like to have a good understanding of, what are they trying to accomplish with their brands? I mean, all roads lead back to that. Before they even, do research for maybe the publication they want to submit to, what are they trying to accomplish? Do they want more visibility within the industry? Do they want more clients?
Right.
Do they want more visibility in their region? They should be able to answer all of those questions. How are they trying to build their brand? Like Vanessa, are they trying to get a collaboration or an ambassadorship? Do they want to be on industry panels?
Right.
How do they want to build their brand? And once they have a path forward for that, there's plenty of ways across, all of the things that we do in order to help them do just that.
From a branding standpoint, knowing that you have a style, and before I make the statement, I'll just say, I don't think most creatives, when they get into the industry, realize that a magazine is going to have their own style guide. They don't just produce and publish everything that's submitted to them. It has to fit a box.
Absolutely.
And I don't think many realize that, because it takes designers a while before they get a publicist who can explain it to them.
Which is also very important, right? There's, 2 things I want to touch on. Amy mentioned photography, and I see our editor-in-chief here, and I can't talk to you about how, that is the most important thing in my mind. It really is. You cannot get published without photography. And if you want to take your brand to the next level, I would really suggest investing in that. That is just something that is absolutely essential. I know AJ Madison offers something to designers that's really incredible, but, if you see amazing pictures, if you are investing in the photographer, the stylist, then your photos are going to sing, right? Mm-hmm. And people are going to take notice. And I also want to quickly circle back to something Vanessa said, which is that her brand is constantly changing. But I will say, you have a very distinct point of view. Mm-hmm. And having a distinct point of view is what is editorial, and that's what's going to get attention, right? But I think it's important to evolve. You don't want to be stuck in the trad home corner. You as a designer, you want your brand to evolve. You're going to put forth a project that feels really different, but it's understanding your brand and your point of view. And that's something that I feel like, we're flipping through pitches. It's that point of view, it's that storytelling that's going to get you noticed. So, investing in photography, building a brand, knowing what your brand is, doing your homework, and understanding the magazines and understanding where you want to get published, I think is a good starting point.
Can we just right here, right now, make it a rule that if you're not going to be using your handyman brother-in-law to do the plumbing on your project, don't use his daughter
to do the photography on her iPhone? Yeah.
We've been through 1 million photographers, right, in each local region. Yes, friends of the family, not so good. Event photographers, not so good for this particular type of photography. Right. Even real estate photographers are not the right.
Ooh,
researching a little
Zillow
bit.
photography.
Yeah, researching a little bit.
Can I go one step further and to say that when you're looking for a photographer, that photographers are creatives, just like a designer. they're going to have their own vibe. They're going to have their own feel. They're going to have their own style. That's going to manifest itself in the work that's done on your project. If you pick a photographer who is just a light, bright sprite in the universe, that's great. If you have moody hues on a very emotional project,
Right.
you're not going to get what you're looking for. You're going to pay for it.
Right.
It's going to be nice, but it's not going to be suitable for maybe
Right.
what you're looking for.
But I do want to touch on, so, obviously Lux covers, home projects, but shooting product and lifestyle is very, very, very different. So I can't tell you how many times we want to feature a beautiful tile or an amazing range. And hey, can you zap that silo shot over to me? Sorry, some sound issues. And they don't have silhouetted photography on a white background. And that is just essential, I feel like, if you are a manufacturer, if you are a brand, make
product.
sure that you have all of your angles covered. Like, we can talk about home features all day, but product is a whole different ballgame, and that requires a really distinct skill set when it comes to photographing. But you want to make sure you get it in situ, you want to make sure you get it siloed, you want to make sure you get it styled. It's like you got to have all your bases covered, and that's
It's a big investment.
good point. It is a big investment.
It's a big investment, but something you can consider in the beginning of your project to make sure when you charge, kind of put that in there somehow so it kind of covers it.
I want to actually throw this a little bit back, and I'm going to throw it on the table for you to discuss and chop it up, because I think it's important to know this too. Years ago, Bunny Williams was on the show. Love Bunny. And she said something that I vehemently disagree with. I don't think she's wrong. I think it works for her. But she said that, and she said this on more than one occasion, that, in the work that she does, when she did a space, she might want someone never to know that it was a Bunny Williams design. That it didn't matter if they knew that it was her work or that her work was recognizable, but that the client loved it. And ultimately, I think the essence of the idea is correct. The client has to love it, right?
course.
The client has to love it first and foremost, above all. But at the same time, I think that designers have become more brands themselves. And something you mentioned was incredible about putting the pictures on the outside. When I was a kid, and records were a thing the first time, Tower Records. Oh man, did you have Tower in your hometown? Did you have Tower?
Yeah.
Oh, it was so great. They would have artists custom paint the album covers.
so cool.
And they would put them outside. Now listen, everyone knew who Van Halen was, but when you see that 10 by 10 VH, which was hand painted, not even photography, that's incredible marketing to me. So when you do that, I think that's incredible. I think that's wonderful. Why don't more people do that?
I don't know. I mean, our retail showrooms do have a lot of frontage. We're in Brooklyn, we're in Northern Virginia, so DC Metro, Atlanta, and Miami, and we're very fortunate. We actually choose our showroom spaces based on how much frontage we have, how much visual real estate we're going to have to showcase projects. We're opening in Houston soon, and that was a key element of us choosing that, location. Obviously, we don't want to block the interiors completely, but I think having enough real estate there to really show the appliances in an environment, a lifestyle, it makes such a huge difference. Really
Absolutely.
Yep.
When you think about marketing and branding connected inextricably to your work, it's the styling, it's the photography. You're not going to, I'm not speaking for you, I'm more asking, but you're not going to submit every project you have for coverage, because not every project is maybe the right representation
Right.
of your work. How do you determine what you want promoted, how you want it promoted, how you want it styled, and what level of control do you maintain through the process?
I mean, I want all my projects to be published. I'm at a point in my career that I'm picking my projects. Thank God. Before I was at the mercy at all my clients, maybe the styles I didn't like and projects I didn't love, but the money was there. But I'm in a position of strength now, and I can kind of pick and handpick what I want to work and who I want to work with. So I would love all my projects published. I mean, that's the ideal goal, right? But even if they don't, rotating them through social, I think, is a lot of fun. Tagging the brands, tagging all the collabs that helped with the project, getting recognized in that respect is also a great way. And there's something to be seen with, social media, TikTok, Instagram. But yeah, my goal is for all my projects to be published. So.
It's not the same when you see a home on a
No way.
4x4 screen on your phone versus, kind of unfolding it.
Absolutely.
In print. I feel like that's, and when it comes to design, I feel like print still has some cachet there. Do you know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
just seeing those homes on paper is just, you can't compare it, in my opinion.
In your humble media opinion? No, I think there's more to it, and it's interesting because I'm a tactile person. I love magazines. I still have old podcaster. I still have old issues of Metropolitan Home.
Oh, yeah.
I still have old Dwells. I still have the books that I really connected with.
Yeah, it's just inspired by it. It's such a source of inspiration.
And it's funny because nowadays, whenever I have a number of pet peeves and the number of pet peeves seems to grow exponentially year after year. The longer I do this, the more pet peeves I get. But one of them is, this bothers me because it's a disservice to them, and they don't even realize it. When you ask creatives, when you ask any designer, I'm not going to put you on the spot. When you ask any designer, their number one source for new business, they always say referrals.
Really? I think it's Instagram now, I hear.
Nope. Every single one I talk to says it's word of mouth. It's word of mouth. Oh, it's word of mouth. Well, my clients are the best. And they told it's like, no, they didn't. They sent them a link to Instagram. They showed them a copy of the magazine that it was in. Word of mouth does not get someone to spend six figures.
That's a good point.
They want to see
They want to see it.
Absolutely.
You're right.
Absolutely. And because of that, attribution is so important, and attribution is critical. Because look, if AJ Madison is the partner who gets a designer published, there's loyalty there. There should be loyalty there. It's warranted. It should be there. If there's a magazine that covers a project because they saw what was so special about it, so they put it in the book. Look, can you just, if you get more projects in a month, can you just add pages?
That's also a fine formula.
You can but it's paper. It's paper. You can add as many pages.
Just add 100 pages.
Just add 100 pages.
Problem.
10 more projects.
No problem.
You have a fixed. No, it's a little fungible, but you're fixed by what you can publish, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's it's all a fine formula, and as I said, we get so many amazing pitches, and it's hard to turn down, these, some spaces. It's really hard, but, again, there are a lot of fish in the sea. Like, I really believe in the Lux model. I've worked at AD, Veranda, Elle Decor, just a lot of different publications, and I think the regional model is so successful. Like, I'm not trying to toot this horn, but I just really believe in the model. But that being said, there's a lot of fish in the sea. So if it's not a fit for someone, it's as Amy said, there's a lot of other platforms, But it's you can't greenlight everything, Josh. You really can't.
Well, and it's interesting. You touched on something that I wanted to expand on. The regionality and the regional nature of what you do. I think it is important.
What we all do.
Yeah.
Really.
Yes. And I think it's important, but I think it's also important for a number of reasons. It's funny, I'm born and raised in LA. If you talk about LA with someone from elsewhere, they talk about LA like it's a city. If you talk about New York, someone who doesn't understand the nature of five boroughs and the individuality within each one, it's New York. It's not. And I didn't really understand, and I didn't really learn this lesson until I moved to Tulsa. Traditional. Can you say traditional? Because Midwest loves them some traditional.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that you have to have that that regional nature, or at least an understanding of it, so that you can, look, trends are great. It's only when they get trendy that it's bad, right? So when it comes to regionality and an understanding and being able to work with your clients, how do you approach that conversation about regional? It's almost like a dialect, right? They have certain feelings and certain vibes that go along with certain locations that you it's like the psychology of design. You have to be in touch with that as well. How do you start that conversation, and how does that then manifest into the projects, and how does the project wind up in a regional edition?
Well, I can speak to that. I just came back from St. Martin, and my client in St. Martin, we're building his second villa and a boutique hotel, and we're also simultaneously doing his Montauk residence and his Long Island house. So this is all going on at the same time, 3 very different styles. So in Montauk, we're doing very beachy, very Montauk-esque, if that's a word, right? And then in St. Martin, it's all beachy, tile, light, very airy, mosaics in the pool, designs of mosaics. It's very, Caribbean, if you will. And then in his Long Island residence, much more traditional, with a nod of classic. So that particular client is very diverse because of the region of where they are, right? They don't want to design a traditional home in St. Martin and vice versa. So he's very in tune of where he's going to live. He's going to be a quite different style from every other place that he lives.
What are your conversations like with all of your various design partners who have projects all over the country, all over the world, who are looking for different things to be able to present a different idea?
I mean, I think as we've expanded into the regions, we started out in 2001, as the first website for appliances. And in 2001, everyone's like, who's going to buy a refrigerator online, right? And we've evolved from there in the last 24 years. But I think the key here is when we go into a local market and establish a showroom, we don't want to be known as the internet dealer. We want to be their local resource, and so we immerse ourselves in the market probably a year before we open up there, and we understand what's going on from an advertising perspective, from a design aesthetic, who the players are in that market, and we do our research. We do our research in that market, and we look for potential collaborators based on, influence in the market, involvement in trade organizations, and we always have a top-down, bottom-up strategy. So we're obviously going to market to consumers for appliances in addition to our outreach to trade, and it is very different. Our customer in Brooklyn, when we're delivering, whether it's Manhattan or it's a 4th floor walk-up in Brooklyn proper, they just don't have the same set of circumstances as a suburban home in the DC, Northern Virginia area.
Yeah.
And, Miami's very modern, and it's all induction. No one wants to hear from a gas range in Miami. It just does not happen. It doesn't happen. So I think there are some nuances, not only from a product perspective, but design aesthetic, the designers that we work with. And I think, AJ, the brilliance behind it, 150 brands, we have something for everyone, right? We have something for everyone, whether it's a super exclusive brand where it's territory restricted and we can only ship in certain areas versus, a luxury or premium brand that we can ship all over the country. Like, I think that's the benefit of working with somebody like us. And to, Vanessa's situation where she's working for one client on a variety of projects, we can help her and ship to all of those locations, right? She has a single provider across brands, across aesthetics, across locations where we know her account, we know her people. I think that's super important as well. There's a flexibility in that. Even if you have your local provider and you're like, but I love Sam and I've been going to him for years and I just want to give Sam the business. We get it. We totally get it. I will just say there are some benefits to working with a company like ours, and we have a vested interest in trying to help make a designer's business successful, right? Because that means they'll have more business and we'll work on more projects together. So, first and foremost, we're there to sell appliances, deliver them flawlessly, and if there is an issue, which we all know, sometimes there are issues with appliances, that we're there to solve it, right? But on top of that, here we are, I deploy my entire marketing team against all of these projects to help amplify the work that the designer's doing. Not take credit for AJ Madison, but it's not really about that. It's look at the amazing work that's being done.
And that's what the point of Lux is too, is to be able to amplify all of this amazing talent across the country.
Yeah.
I feel so lucky that we get to do that, in every single issue and really spotlight these designers. But just circling back to what Amy said is, design is local. You are absolutely influenced by where you are. There's a lot of, I think the most successful projects, as Vanessa was saying, do kind of nod to the local vernacular, what's happening there. And, it depends on who you are, but a lot of the times, sometimes you are sourcing locally, sometimes you're not, sometimes you're working with a local architect, sometimes you're not. So, there's different situations, but I think that, again, what Amy was saying is, whites are popular in Miami, right? Sheers sell all day from Cravat in Miami. Pacific Northwest, you're getting plaids, you're getting chunky bouclés, you're getting richer colors. Then you're going to Texas, and that's just all about pattern, bigger is better. Don't forget Palm Beach, New York, Chicago. It's just, everything is so different in every part of the country, and it's so fun for me to be able to see that, to, be able to spotlight kind of what's happening around the country.
I love that too. I think, Josh, can I interject one thing that's not related to this? I just feel because I know we're going to come to a close in a few minutes, but if there's anything we can leave everybody with, and I'm sure my counterparts here will agree, investing in your business and your brand, obviously we spent a lot of time talking about that and doing your research. And this could sound pretty overwhelming when you think about, depending on the size of your firm, it might just be you. Right? It's hard to balance all of these things. It is well worth the investment for a publicist.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Even a social media coordinator, someone that can help traffic and pull all of these assets and do a little bit of this work. It is a few $1,000s a month, depending on where you live, and well worth the investment to make sure that you're able to do some of the things that we talked about today.
Honestly, I used to do it by myself in the beginning, and it was so hard to juggle it all. And as soon as I hired a publicist, I was able to do work, and they were able to get the leads on all the projects. So I think it's a total win-win.
Absolutely. And the one thing that a publicist does, if they're a good one, is that they are in touch with the editors and the writers, and they know what stories are going on. So in addition to Catherine's editorial calendar,
makes your job easier for
and
us.
the print publications editorial calendar, they might come to us. And that's another thing that we do. We field a lot of media inquiries where they're like, we need a project with color in the range of the refrigerator. It's a trend. We want to talk about it. Who do you have? Who's doing outdoor kitchens? Do you have any projects cross country? They're tapping us across the board. So anything that's interesting, even if the whole kitchen doesn't get featured or the whole home doesn't get featured, you might have done something super cool in the primary suite.
And
right?
We could do that in front of book. We have, one-off spaces, an amazing kitchen, an amazing powder room. That's just eye candy. That's what everyone wants to see, right?
Maybe you've done a laundry room to end all laundry rooms.
We just published an amazing floral laundry room. Yeah,
right?
it's these one-off spaces. Yeah.
Think about it in terms of that as well. And a publicist is going to help you. They're going to have their finger on the pulse. You're going to get calls from the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Miami Herald for some of the stuff that they're doing, in addition to shelter publications that are working on deadline on stories.
Absolutely.
I think that is brilliant advice. The one thing I would add to that as a caveat is the same way, and it's not a disagreement at all, it's that the same way that if you're a client, you want to work with a specific designer that is suitable for you and what you do, to find a publicist that is suitable for you as a designer, as a creative, one that gets you. Because look, there's going to be people out there who want your business, but designers need to understand how to interview a publicist. Because look, they have other clients. That's part of the gig. Your clients understand that you as a designer, they're not your only client. Designers need to understand that a publicist will have other clients. It doesn't mean that they're going to neglect you, but you have to understand what their style is and what their vibe is and how they pitch, and make sure that they pitch you the way that you want to be pitched. And I'm just curious, can you do that if you don't first understand what your own brand is?
You can't do any of this without understanding what your brand is and what you want your brand to be.
Maybe they can help you.
Absolutely.
Maybe
They can
they can,
amplify
yeah.
that voice. They're only going to get it out there, and they can refine it
Yeah.
a little bit. You know, sometimes it's really important, I think, to step outside, to get a second perspective, you know, and have someone kind of help you maybe form or guide what you're doing and make it a little bit tighter.
Yep.
I think that's really, really valuable. And I can't just like echo what Amy was saying enough. I mean, my job is so much easier through all the publicists I work with every day. I love designers. I talk to them, you know, all day as well, but the publicists are just so dialed in.
Right.
They really are. And they know, you know, brands, stories, what we're doing kind of in and out. And also, I don't want to be bugging Vanessa for image rights and the high-res link and this and that. Like, you know, farm that off to someone else and make your job easier, you know?
Agreed.
That brings up one other question that I want to, and we have a few minutes, but one thing I wanted to ask is, in your contract, do you have photography rights?
I do.
You do?
Yep.
Is there anything that the client needs to approve?
Yes.
They do.
They have to check the box that they're okay with me photographing their home at any given time.
For publicity?
Mm-hmm.
So, but they don't get approval of angles photography. They don't get to see if anything's in there that shouldn't be.
The only time that a client may remove that completely if it had to sign an NDA. But that's the only time. And for the most part, they're okay with it.
And I would imagine too that you like working with designers that have their stuff together enough to get that worked into their contract so that you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, that's ideal. That doesn't always happen.
That's half the battle.
Right. It doesn't always happen because this is, I mean, we've got a year under our belt with this kitchen design collective. We're in year 2 right now. And, you know, out of the gate, the projects were, you know, recently completed. So it wasn't contemplated at the start of the project. And sometimes we don't know how the project's going to turn out, right? Whether or not it's going to be featured. We have a list as the appliances are shipping out, like, oh, this looks like it could be a good one. But not every homeowner wants their project photographed, which is fine, right? Every designer wants to do it, but not every homeowner wants to do it necessarily. And we've got to get in there relatively early. So it's not a heavy lift for them, for us to come in to style, to shoot. We don't want it to be a pain in the neck because then it's a pain in the neck
Then
for
they have
the
to hire
designer.
the cleaning ladies,
Yes.
and the kids are going to be home, and the dogs.
someone's home from camp.
Yeah.
But I think Vanessa's in a privileged position where you're probably picking projects with homeowners that will only, you know, work with you on photography, right?
Yeah, usually they're all great.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not like, oh, you can't photograph my house. I mean, we have a few that will just have us sign NDAs, and we can't. That's not even. I can't even have that in the contract. But whatever. I sometimes publicize the renderings, and that's legal.
Yeah.
I just can't say who it's for.
Right. Well, that's exactly it. Most of these stories, we're not publishing who the homeowner is, right?
Right, yeah, you're focusing on design. You're focusing on the product.
Right.
That's the point of this, right?
Exactly. We're working with a big influencer right now, and you know there are requirements for us working on this project with the influencer, but we're going to feature the designer. We're not going to mention, you know, whose home it is, right? There's always an angle.
Right.
Like even if the, you know, celebrity or influencer doesn't want, you know, their product featured, there's always a way. We're trying to not highlight the influencer. We want to highlight the design talent behind it. So.
All right. So if we're going to wrap this up, and we're going to put together a short list, synopsizing, homework assignment.
Who's doing that?
And we're going to.
Is that your job?
What is most important on your list? I'll give you an example. If someone gives you iPhone photos, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely not.
If
Photography and storytelling are paramount for what I'm looking for.
Do you always send a photographer to reshoot?
No.
Do you ever?
Yes, absolutely. But if the photography is great, then we will absolutely run that. But, you know, so again, going back to the different sections of the magazine, there's the front of book, which is smaller stories. It's product, right? You kind of want some original content there. Sometimes it's, small, beautiful, styled, entertaining, tabletop types of shoots. And then, again, the second half of the book are these beautiful, juicy home tours where there's 4, 5, 6 pages of a, house in the Pacific Northwest, a beach house in Miami, in the Hamptons. And that, we're usually looking for projects that are already photographed and just using those assets.
When you look at every project that you do, because it's funny, I'm surprised to hear you say that you view every project as something that should be published. I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. What's the short list of things that you have to address? And we talked about making sure that it's signed off on for photography in your contract. Do you negotiate with your photographer that everything that they shoot for you, that you've paid them for absolute rights to that, so universal rights, so that you can have it published in a magazine? What's on your short list?
So depending on the project, I have 3 photographers. I have my in-house photographer that does the scouting pictures, that does a really, really nice job that I can give them to people, and they're like, oh, this is nice, but, then I obviously invest. If there's interest, then I invest in the heavy hitter photographers and stylists. I think stylists are really important. I never knew how important stylists were until I used a stylist. And I thought I was a stylist. I'm like, I style all day long. I can do it myself. But when you bring in a stylist, they see it from a different lens that you don't see things from, and it changes the whole perspective in a much better way. So stylist, great photographer, having a backup photographer that's just your rights that you can use, you can give to AJ Madison, and this is Jason's, I own it, so you don't have to pay him, things like that, and we share images that way. But then when it's a project that wants to really be featured, then I would invest in the photographer that I would love to be featured for that project that I know the magazines would love.
Your short list?
Let's see. I don't know if I do anything short. I think it, for me, again, it comes back to if our customers are working on projects, I just want to know about it, whatever it is. And for me, the most important elements would be the brands they're working with, right? Unique application of the appliances in the space, and it doesn't have to be relegated to just the kitchen. It could be outdoor kitchen, pool house.
The closet.
The primary suite, guest house. It doesn't matter what it is. Right, exactly. Wherever appliances are being used, I have editorial topics that are socialized within my group where we're always looking for support for color story, people using color appliances, because we're always getting calls from editors. Yeah. Appliances everywhere, which is the notion I just talked about. It doesn't matter if it's in the kitchen. Are you using appliances in a unique way? Built-ins and columns, so customization, and what does that mean? That's kind of an overarching theme for us. Do they have a range that was special ordered and it's 60 inches and they've designed a very unique cooking surface with it? If they're doing panels, that doesn't always make for an interesting photograph, right? And so many are doing panel ready, right, and incorporating it into their kitchen. But if they've done something very unique, like they've got leather panels or they've got something that really stands out from a focal point, we want to showcase that, right? So for me, it's really about, and I don't care what photographs they send me, I almost always have to reshoot everything because it's, someone could have amazing photographs of the kitchen and the whole home, but I don't have the right angles for the appliances to be featured, right? So I've got to go back and shoot it just for that appliance angle to make sure we've got it in the best light, because in a lot of kitchens, they want the appliances to disappear, right? So I've got to go back and shoot and say, okay, how can we reemerge the appliances and showcase that in a really unique way? So, I'll take their iPhone photos and then we figure out, which region and send our photographer for it. But I think they, again, when they're coming to us, we just want to know what's unique about the project itself, any interesting aspects to it, something unique maybe about the homeowner that we can use, the brand that's featured, and then we kind of take it from there and just blow it up on, the Lux platform, on our platform, and really do the best, job to amplify their project.
Actually, the photographs that are on the side of the booth.
Yeah, I keep looking at you, Vanessa.
Yeah, oh, here too.
Yeah.
AJ Madison reshot this, and I actually don't have this very big angle of the Larcuno stove. I don't have this angle. So
Right.
this is
So
a great picture.
even she has many, many, many gorgeous pictures of the kitchen,
Right.
right? But we needed something very specific, so oftentimes we have to go in and shoot it. So anyway, scouting photos are fine. Again, full brand versus mixed brand. We can work with mixed brand as long as usually the range is, something substantial.
And for those who are listening, who are not in our wonderful, beautiful, amazing studio audience here, and you want to see Vanessa in her kitchen, there will be links. Go to the show notes, and you'll be able to click on the show notes and see some of her projects, and especially this one because the artwork's fantastic.
Thank you.
It's creative.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a link to Vanessa's Kitchen Design Collective.
Absolutely.
Portfolio and story at that link.
Yeah, 100%. So listen, Catherine, Vanessa, Amy, this was so much fun. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
My hope is that we put together some takeaways that designers can use to go get some more coverage, and use AJ Madison and use your resources, because it's a great one. And
it's free. I mean, it's free. It's free. You
it's-
just need
if
to
it's
buy
free,
your
it's for me.
appliances from us, and then we're gonna. I really am thinking about maybe doing a guide to interviewing a publicist. Like, we can start to build out some of those tools as well. I think
That would
to
be really helpful. Really
Yeah.
helpful.
Right? So anyway, listen, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thank you, AJ Madison, for partnering with KBIS to present the podcast studio. This is so much fun. I cannot even tell you, being in a fishbowl, I haven't been in a fishbowl in a little while, and it's so much fun. So this was great. Thank you for doing
Josh,
this.
thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
What a remarkable experience. I believe that KBIS is one of the annual must-attend events, not just for all the reasons listed above and for the conversations that you just heard, but so many others as well. Thank you to the NKBA, KBIS, Emerald, AJ Madison, and all of the amazing creatives who came on the show and came into the podcast studio and shared their stories. Just extraordinary. Thank you for listening to Convo by Design presents KBIS Confidential. As always, please join in the conversation on Instagram at Convo by Design with an X. And if you'd like to reach me with a note, show, or guest suggestion, please do. Email me, convobydesign@outlook.com. Thank you. And until next time, stay focused and rise above the chaos.